Buddha once said, "We are what we think about most," and that's because thoughts become things. It is so important that you and your child develop positive thinking. The power and the importance of positive thinking is instrumental to success in anyone, not just yourself or your child, and anyone to succeed in life. I'm your host, Dr. Jamie Schwandt, and our show is going to provide you some tools, inspiration, and motivation to success. We're going to provide you a show that will truly help you to dream big, think positive, and take action. We're going to bring you interviews from people across this great state of Kansas. We're going to bring you leaders from this community. We're going to bring you teachers, coaches. We're going to bring you military leaders and some great people to inspire and motivate you. So please stay tuned. We have a great show for you today.
Every individual has value and the right to be treated with dignity. Developmental Services of Northwest Kansas support persons with intellectual and developmental disabilities and are dedicated to the worth of each person. To help DSNWK give the best of a vast array of services, we invite you to log on to our Plan Giving website. It features valuable ideas on ways to plan for the future and receive benefits. Lives are transformed by your support of people with disabilities for generations to come. Developmental Services of Northwest Kansas.
The holidays are here. That means several weeks of parties. Whether company celebrations, secret Santa lunches, or festive family get-togethers, with a vast array of traditional and fun designs, decorations, and baking selections, Gift and Party Collections can help you cut the cleanup time and add to the joy of the occasion. That's Gift and Party Collections, 2013 Vine Street in Hayes.
He cries in the corner where nobody sees. He's the kid with the story no one would believe. He prays every night, "Dear God, won't you please, could you send someone here who will love me?"
Help a child know they're special. Adopt. Call or go online to learn how.
Who will love me for me?
Simon's tax, accounting, and financial planners have been trusted by their clients for decades. At Simon's, they take a holistic approach with a comprehensive portfolio of services for their clients. Make your appointment today and enjoy a better tomorrow for you and your family. Simon's Tax, Accounting, and Financial Planners, 1007 Cody Avenue in Hayes.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Dreaming Big with Dr. Schwandt. I'm your host, Dr. Jamie Schwandt, and I have a special guest for you today. My guest, Kellie Henderson here. We share kind of a special bond. We have a similar story. Kellie's going to talk to you today about her story and how she is an inspiration. But Kellie and I actually were foster children together in the same town, small town in Kansas, Kensington, Kansas. And Kellie, I've had the privilege of talking to you before, interviewing you for my doctoral dissertation, and thank you for agreeing to be on the show.
Yeah, and thank you for having me.
Yeah. If you would, please tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about your story.
Mm-hmm.
I know you have a very inspirational story, and kind of tell us, kind of what you do.
Okay. When someone asks me who I am, I always have to start with my story because that's what has molded me into the person that I am today. I grew up in a middle-class neighborhood, middle-class family, full of abuse and neglect, physical and sexual abuse by my father and two older brothers. This happened for roughly 8 years. When The Secret kind of came out, we entered into the foster care system, and I did unfortunately age out of the foster care system. So that's like a synopsis of my story. What I'm doing today is I've graduated with my master's in social work, and I am now working as a case manager at St. Francis Community Services in Wichita.
No, so you are giving back.
Yes.
So you're a former foster child, and I remember your story.
because you went on Oprah. So and I remember when I needed people to interview for my doctoral dissertation. You know, I was trying to find out how, you know, as former foster children, how we could succeed in a life that's really destined for failure. And so I found, it was very hard to find you, but I found you, and even though you were right in my backyard, there in Kensington and Goldbug country. But I found you, I watched your Oprah show, and yeah, you're just a very inspirational person. And you know, one thing when I think about you, Kelly, I think about the different type of people in the world. And there are 3 different types of people in the world. There are people who wonder what happened, people who watch what happened, and people who make things happen. And you're one of those people that make things happen. So very, very inspirational young lady.
Yeah, I think we align really well with using the foster care system as an opportunity and growing from our experiences and giving back, like what we're doing now. So.
And I'm glad you mentioned that. My wife gives me a hard time sometimes because I always mention foster care and opportunity. She doesn't give me a hard time because it's an opportunity, but I just say it the same way all the time. But it truly is an opportunity for success that a child just does not have in their biological home sometimes. Can you tell me a little bit more about your job now? What you do and maybe what motivated and inspired you to get in the profession that you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, definitely my story has been my main motivation into doing what I am doing today. And to dive further into that, I'm a reintegration case manager, and I work on a special needs team where I'm working with a lot of high needs youth. I have a few on my caseload who are autistic. We have a lot of girls who've gone through human trafficking. So the youth population that I'm working with are the ones that have a lot of high needs, that are needing additional support and services, that are needing that one-on-one attention. And then I am also a rapid responder for human trafficking in the Wichita region, where I work with the Exploited Missing Children Unit in law enforcement, where they do the investigation, and I go in and kind of help a little bit at the end and assess their safety and their needs, and connect them with their social workers if they're in the foster care system, and if not, connecting back with their families or figuring out what, emergency shelter, if that's where they need to go and whatnot. And I love that part of the job. I love working with that population. And I love what I'm doing now. I do hope to do more with policy. I don't have all the answers, but it would be neat to have the experience of being in the foster care system and then working in the foster care system, maybe going back to DC and trying to impact change some laws in the foster care system.
And we got to meet up while we were in DC for a while.
Yeah.
Gave you a little tour of the Pentagon.
Yeah, it was very cool.
Yeah, because you were doing, what were you doing out there? You were doing like a fellowship or intern program?
Yeah, the program is called the Congressional Coalition on Adoption Institute in Washington, D.C. And the program that I was in was called the Foster Youth Internship Program, where they brought in youth from across the nation who have experienced the foster care system, and then we were able to work on a policy report trying to improve the foster care system based on our experiences. And then we also had the opportunity to work on Capitol Hill. So I worked with the Finance Committee, and that whole experience was amazing. But I can dive into my report a little bit on kind of, if you're wishing one, and what I would change. Mine was focused on providing a curriculum or providing information to foster youth, because we have a lot of systems in place for youth who exit care. We've got the exit plans, we've got the transition plans, et cetera. And then we've got plans in place for aftercare services when kids are reintegrated back into their home or when they move into, we've got adoption services, et cetera. But what I've found in some of my research, and obviously there's more to be done, but when kids enter the foster care system, it's a very vulnerable time for them. And we don't have a whole lot in place that explains what the foster care system is. Going back to my time, that was the most terrifying time of my life, was entering the foster care system, because while my family was wrong and there was a lot of abuse happening, but it was my family. And then entering into a new family that I had no idea who these people were, that was a very vulnerable time for me. So my report focused on providing information to foster youth, because they don't know who these people are, they don't know what foster care means, they don't know what foster parents are, and they don't realize that they've gone through training, they know how to work with these youth. Well, there could be more done in terms of trauma-informed services, but if that makes sense, that's kind of what
it does, and I remember when I entered foster care, I was 12 years old, and I remember going to the foster home. And we're really not told anything. No one really knows it's a a very vulnerable time for not just the child but the foster parents as well, because they don't really know what to tell you. So I think that's some good things to look into. Yeah. So and you mentioned the I wanted to ask you if there was one specific thing you would improve. Would that be it? If you had a magic wand, I know they don't exist, but
yeah, one of them would be providing more information to foster youth to know how to navigate through the foster care system and how all these professionals that are coming in and out of their lives, who they are, what they do, what the purpose is. I think that would be a big piece of it. Just focusing on the youth.
No, I like that. I like that a lot. Focusing on, and it's not focusing on the problem, really. It's you want to fix the problem, but it's continuous improvement. Again,
the more they understand the foster care system, I think the more the system will work for them, and the more that they'll work with the system, if that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense, and I think we talked about that. I remember talking about that with you and some of the other former foster children that I interviewed when we were doing my dissertation, and it was making sure we have, as foster children, we have an understanding of the foster care system, we have an understanding of the benefits they have, because there are benefits to being in foster care, and like the education benefits, and that was a huge plus. But we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to come back with our second part of the interview with Kellie Henderson, so please stay tuned.
Learn more about us at januscampaign.org.
Your child deserves to know you care, even if you can't be by her side every day. If you owe the state of Kansas for back child support, we've got a new program that helps you pay down your debt while paving the way for your child's higher education. It takes just a $25 investment to get started. Learn more at www.dcf.ks.gov. Helping you build a healthy family and support your child to succeed.
Hello, I am Dr. Jamie Schwandt, and as a former foster child, I want to give back and help others succeed. I've wrote 2 books dedicated to foster families. Last year, I wrote Succeeding as a Foster Child. This book is a roadmap for success for foster children. My second book, Finding Your Hero, was recently published. This book is a children's book for foster children and provides a positive message for foster families. These books are great resources for foster families and can be found at jamieschwandt.com. Thank you and God bless.
At Eagle Communications, we're proud to provide the communications services you need to get the most from today's technology. Our employee owners make it happen. We're part of your community, and we take pride in delivering excellent customer service. If you ever have a question, give us a call. We're here to help. Eagle Communications, our community connected.
Welcome back to Dreaming Big with Dr. Schwandt. I'm here with Kellie Henderson for our second part of our interview. And Kellie, let's kind of pick up where we left off. So you mentioned improving in foster care. You mentioned kind of the awareness for foster children. Do you have any more thoughts on creating a greater awareness of the foster care system? Maybe using, we talked about the education benefits briefly before we went to commercial break. Do you have any additional thoughts on how to improve that, how to improve their awareness? Because I remember I did find that a lot of foster children felt that if other foster children didn't use their education benefits, would have known about them, they may have been more likely to use them.
Yeah, I mean, like we have the extended medical program where youth who have aged out of the system have medical insurance until the age of 26, and a lot of youth who have aged out are not aware of that. I mean, this goes back from 5 years ago. I mean, another big piece that I've always focused on is again, providing information to foster youth. But I think what we need in for foster youth is a database that has information that is provided to foster youth. Like maybe that's a website that has just all the benefits that youth have are eligible for, or again, to explain what the foster care system is, what these workers are, what they do. That's been one of my other things that I've been wanting to try to figure out on how to do.
Improving the foster care system. What do you think, if you had any thoughts on what is working right now? What are we doing right for our foster children? From your viewpoint, from Kellie Henderson, what worked for you when you were back in Kensington or living in Kerwin, Kansas, which most people have outside of Northwest Kansas won't know what Kerwin is. What did your foster parents do that helped mold you? I remember you mentioned them bringing you on college visits, or even you mentioned creating a bank account for you.
I had great foster parents. They helped me a lot into molding me into who I am today. They took me to the bank. I got a checking and a savings account. They provided that structure and that knowledge to me that I needed to start saving, so I can save up for a car, so I can have transportation while I'm at college. They had a teenager of their own, so I think they went through these steps already, so that was very beneficial on their end. So they helped me get to college. They took me on a tour on the campus where I went, and they were really great foster parents.
And I know you were very active in school. You were in your academics and your athletics. So did you think being socially active assisted you in your time in foster care?
Yeah, I don't know, because while I was somewhat socially active and I was involved in sports that I really wanted to do, there was a lot of times where I decided not to participate in a sport because I needed to work. I was very focused on the future, and I was very focused on what I needed to do now to have a successful future. So I worked a lot during a lot of the seasons. I played basketball and I played volleyball, and I did some dance and cheer, but when it came to track and field and some other sports, I decided to take that time off to work and save and work through the summer, because I knew that once I got to college, transportation would be a huge piece, and that is something that the foster care system lacks, is helping you figure out how to get a vehicle. And we have plans in place to help them try to save, but we know kids, they don't save. So I don't know if there's something that could be put into place to where we can help get them a vehicle so they can be successful in college, because that is a big piece. Because if they can't get to and from a job, then they can't have money to get to school and to pay for school and to pay for the supplies and for living, if that makes sense.
It does. One of the questions I wanted to ask you, there is a foster care stigma, and I wrote about it in my book, Succeeding as a Foster Child, and I found in my research. I know we talked about it in my dissertation a little bit when we were doing the interview. What are your thoughts on foster care stigma? Do you think there's a stigma out there?
I definitely thought that there was a stigma. I know there's all kinds of people that are going to be watching this, but when I entered into foster care and then I went to school at this small community, I think most people knew that I was from the foster care system, and I think there's a stigma that people think that foster care kids are bad, and the reality is that they've entered into the foster care system, with all the all the negative.
Yeah. I think we're trying to. Everyone knows when you're living in a town of 500 people. Everyone knows you're a foster child. I remember when I first arrived there, 7th grade. We were in basketball practice, and a friend of mine, Keith Wongern, came up and asked me during basketball practice. I'm sure you know Keith. Why did we move here? Why did I move to this town? And I remember I lied. I didn't want to tell them I was a foster child because I was embarrassed.
Same here. I didn't tell my story until I went into college. No one really knew my story. I think my boyfriend did at the time when I was in high school, but I didn't share my story while in high school because I knew that there was this stigma, and I didn't know how they would react to the abuse that I had endured, because most people don't know how to react to those when you tell someone that. So I definitely think that there is still a stigma today. I think a lot of youth struggle with their identity and with telling their story, because we don't know how people are going to react, and a lot of youth share what's going on in their own homes, and a lot of people don't believe them. So it's easy to fall back into those steps even after you are saved to not want to share your story.
And when I talk to foster youth, and I know you use it and I use it as well, I use what's happened to me as fuel for my fire. You know, to be truly successful, you need that aggression. You need something to make you mad, you know, to fire you, to want to rise above, to prove people wrong. Frank Sinatra.
Well, I do have to jump in here.
Okay.
When people say to push forward, when people say you should do something to prove people wrong, it upsets me because I feel like you should be doing it for yourself. I feel like you should be wanting to work towards a better future because that's what you want, not because you want to prove people wrong. While that is really awesome to do because you've shown people that you are capable of great things, but for me, I've come to realize that I don't want the life that my parents had. I don't want the life that my brothers end up having, and I wanted a better life, and I just moved forward to make that happen.
No, that's great, and I got to rethink my motivations now.
You're fine.
But no, that's great stuff. I just wanted to get your thoughts on the foster care stigma, because I know it's there, and you have any other thoughts for foster children that may be watching this? May seem boring to foster children, but if a foster child is watching this, would you have any piece of advice for them from not Kelly Henderson as a social worker, but Kelly Henderson as a foster child that's been in their shoes, that knows what they're going through and what may be coming up on the horizon?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest piece is to keep pushing forward, because if you decide to give up, then there's nothing to move.
To move forward, yeah, you're right.
Nothing to move forward. I mean, you need to keep going, and there are people who are going to make fun of you because there's this stigma. There are going to be people who are not going to appreciate you. I don't know. I'm drawing a blank here.
No, you're on point, and I 100% agree with what you're saying. I wanted to also ask you. Okay, so I love to read. I have this insatiable thirst for knowledge. I read a book. Tony Robbins wrote a book, Awaken the Giant Within, and he had some ridiculous goal of reading so many books in a year. So I kind of adapted his goal, and so I like to read up. My goal is to read 100 books a year.
Well,
just keep reading.
You have a lot of time on your hands.
Well, I'm an audiobook junkie, so when we work out, I know you work out all the time. I love to listen to audiobooks. So, and then I'm in traffic listening to audiobooks. But anyways, there's a quote I love for reading. Leaders are readers. So anyone aspiring to be a leader, you have to read. But if you had one book to discuss with our viewers today that's an inspiration to you or something you turn to, what would that book be?
I think one of those books would be Dr. Bruce Perry, The Boy Who Was Raised as a Dog. I think that book is shaped more for professionals, but I think a lot of foster parents and even foster youth can learn from that. I read through there and I'm like, wow, I totally had this going on in my life, and it made sense to make these connections. And I think a lot of foster parents could read this and understand the trauma that these kids are going through and how it affects them and what they're going to do to lash out because of of something that has happened in the past. And there's going to be triggers, and it's I think a big piece for foster parents is learning what the triggers are for the kids that they have in their home and developing coping mechanisms. So.
No, great. What was the book one more time? Title?
The Boy Who's Raised a Dog by Dr. Bruce Perry.
All right, I'm going to have to go out and purchase a copy.
He has a lot of great books.
Great stuff. Kelly, you have a great story, and you have a lot that's on the horizon. I know you mentioned a PhD maybe out there at some point.
Sometime. I would love to learn more about trauma and how the brain responds to that. And I feel like there's a lot more to do, yes.
And then you also, I know, mentioned writing a book as well. So I know that's probably on the horizon at some point.
Sometime. It keeps getting put onto the back burner with things that are going on in my life now, but I'm hoping at some point that I could bring one out.
Well, and I hope we stay in contact, and I want to thank you so much for being on the show today. You're an inspiration to all the foster children out there. You're an inspiration to social workers, and I know you're going to continue to do great things, so thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
And I want to thank all the viewers out there for watching Dream Big with Dr. Schwandt. It's always awesome to have special guests like Kelly on the show. So thank you all. Have a great day, and God bless the United States of America.
The holidays are here. That means several weeks of parties. Whether company celebrations, secret Santa lunches, or festive family get-togethers, with a vast array of traditional and fun designs, decorations, and baking selections, Gift and Party Collections can help you cut the cleanup time and add to the joy of the occasion. That's Gift and Party Collections, 2013 Vine Street in Hayes.
Learn more about us at januscampaign.org.
Simon's tax, accounting, and financial planners have been trusted by their clients for decades. At Simon's, they take a holistic approach with a comprehensive portfolio of services for their clients. Make your appointment today and enjoy a better tomorrow for you and your family. Simon's Tax, Accounting, and Financial Planners, 1007 Cody Avenue in Hayes.
Every individual has value and the right to be treated with dignity. Developmental Services of Northwest Kansas support persons with intellectual and developmental disabilities and are dedicated to the worth of each person. To help DSNWK give the best of a vast array of services, we invite you to log on to our Plan Giving website. It features valuable ideas on ways to plan for the future and receive benefits. Lives are transformed by your support of people with disabilities for generations to come. Developmental Services of Northwest Kansas.